Texas football seems to enjoy living on the edge. One Texas head coach looks to be staying around for a few more years, and we've got a Big 12 championship preview for you. All this and more on College Crossfire.
I guess we'll get into it. Always enthusiastic, unbelievable, hard-nosed.
All right, let me explain why Aaron Judge is getting it. You can boo me all you want.
I knew Texas was going to win, and then one of the Texas team was going to lose.
Cannon. I don't like the cannon.
Oh, you don't like this? All right, I'm done.
This is all chaos.
Welcome into College Crossfire. Thank you for being here with us tonight. I'm your host, Jonathan Polasek. We've got a lot to discuss, but before we do, let's go ahead and meet our panel. We've got returning champion Taylor Courtney. Taylor, how you doing?
You know, I'm doing well today. I'm doing really well. Yeah, I'm just ready to get started.
Get started, maybe go for another win. Next up, we've got Justin Morris. He hasn't been on in a while. How have you been?
It's been a hot minute, but I'm glad to be back. I'm excited. This is a good show.
Excited? It looks like it's going to be a great show. And last but certainly not least, we've got Zach Leff bringing up the rear. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm just, excited to talk about sports and everything. Yeah, it's going to be a good show overall.
Well, you're on the right show because that's what we do. We talk about sports. So let's just jump right on in. Texas football can't seem to blow anyone out or put anyone away. Texas has at least 5 games where they've held the lead in the fourth quarter, only to see it slip away. Now, Texas is 4-1 in those games, with their only loss coming to West Virginia. But how concerning is it that Texas seems to continually give up these big fourth quarter leads instead of putting these teams away? Let's start with Taylor.
Yeah, it's very concerning. First off, players, they have to stay aggressive both on offense and defense throughout the entire game, especially during the fourth quarter. Coaches need to call the right plays and the correct plays, as well as the players need to follow through on the plays. It's becoming really scary because other teams are starting to pick up on this trend, this habit, and they're taking advantage of it. They're not cooling down. They're telling their players to continue to go after it. And so it's a really scary trend, and Texas is going to have to figure that out.
Yeah, Texas seemed to just, once they get that big lead in the fourth quarter, which they've done multiple times, it's just they go into cruise control, it seems, and it's come back to bite them several times, especially with that one loss against West Virginia. Justin?
I'm going to agree with Taylor on this one. It is pretty concerning. Tom Herman came out with his press conference right after the Texas Tech game, and he said, we like to keep things interesting. And I don't know if that's really a good thing. And then I was flipping through the stats, and, it hasn't been since the TCU game where the Longhorns have been, just comfortably sitting with 6 minutes left in the fourth quarter with the win, just kind of in their hands. And that was 8 weeks ago. So it's very concerning, and the Longhorns need to realize that this isn't a sprint. It's a marathon. The entire game's a marathon. We need to be able to just keep going,
Yeah, you've got to keep up that same intensity throughout the game. You can't just jump out to the big lead because, if you jump out early, there's still plenty of game for the other team to come back.
Yep.
Zach?
Yeah, all great points. The big thing is that since the Oklahoma game, really, the defense seemed to be doing well this year for the Longhorns. They held teams. The week before was TCU, where they held them to 16 points. We're like, you know what? Maybe this is the year that the Longhorns switch the Big 12, traditional Big 12, where it's just a bunch of points. And they even did it 21 points for OU, and they just haven't been able to figure it out. And in the recent weeks, honestly, I've seen the defensive backs really struggle. I've seen the seniors, which shockingly Chris Boyd and Devontae Davis struggle. And watch, the young talent might have struggled for Texas. But overall, if Texas needs to figure this out, their line play is strong, but it's really those DBs. You need to get Caden Stearns and B.J. Foster back on track for these last 2 games in order for the Texas to have a chance at that Big 12 championship.
Yeah, the defensive backs, they haven't looked themselves the second half of the season, really. But I'm going with Taylor. I think it's the head coaching. He needs to really instill in his players that, hey, this game isn't over yet. We still let's go out and put as many points on the board as we can. Keep them from even having an inkling in their mind of hey, we could potentially come back and win this thing. So Taylor, you're starting us off with the first point of the night. Moving on, 17-4 and ranked number 5 in the country. It seems so long ago that there might have been a little concern with Texas volleyball after losing to Kansas in Big 12 play. But 7 straight wins later, including a convincing win against that same Kansas team this past weekend, has Texas cruising. But just how important was this win against Kansas for this Texas team? Start with Justin.
Well, Kansas is 3rd in the Big 12, and even though that's still pretty good, there's the Longhorns are light years ahead of the rest of the Big 12 in terms of volleyball. On paper, it's not a great win, just because it's beating Kansas, but it's still important for them to get over that mental block. And Jared Elliott kind of talked about that with the rest of the season looking forward. He wanted to be able to just win out in the Big 12, and he did a really good job at that. And I think that puts the Horns over this big mental block of, oh, can we, win out? Is this a possible thing to do?
Yeah, I mean, Texas, they looked fine against pretty much everyone else, but it was just like they lost to Kansas. Like, is this something that could potentially affect the rest of their season?
Exactly.
It hasn't so far. Zach?
Yeah, exactly what you said. They lost those non-conference games. You lose to a powerhouse like Stanford, you're expected, and then losing to Kansas, everybody's like, oh, was worried for the Longhorns. But they really have gone on a big winning streak. And then beating Kansas, the number one thing is that it's a confidence booster. It just proves that they are that top dog way above the Big 12. And they have 3 games left. They got to go on the road for 2 of them, then play home against West Virginia. And as long as they take care of business, which the Longhorns should be able to do, they'll host a Super Regional, which is crucial when it comes tournament time.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of just finishing off the season strong so they can get to the Super Regionals when there you're actually facing these really upper echelon of teams, the Stanfords and those other top 10 teams that Texas is most likely going to see in the postseason. Taylor?
Yeah, it was simply just personal, honestly. I mean, that was the team that they lost to. And so, of course, you want to go back and win against that team that you did lose against to earlier on. So it was a matter of just personal reasons. You want to go back and get that revenge is what I see that Texas team really pushing and striving for. It wasn't going to hurt them into getting towards the tournament, just like you two just said, for later on anyway. So I think it was just a matter of personal reasons, and you just want to get that revenge back.
Yeah, nobody likes losing. Everybody likes winning. Just ask Tom Herman. I like winning. But, I'm going to go with Justin. It's just that Kansas win, while it's certainly an important win for them, it's not necessarily the biggest of wins, but it's just to get over it, say that we beat them, that's important for Texas, especially because Kansas did beat them earlier this season. Moving on to Texas soccer, the soccer season ended much earlier than many expected. Texas faced Virginia Tech in the first round of the NCAA tournament and lost 1-0. Now, Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, Sierra Hinson, was out for the first 72 minutes due to an upper leg injury before being put in to provide a spark. But wasn't enough. And despite the early exit, head coach Angela Kelly is reported to receive a contract extension. Is this the right call for Texas soccer? Start with Zach.
100%. Angela Kelly, since she's been here, has really turned around a program that traditionally hasn't been successful. Last year was a historic year for them when they went 14-3 and they moved into the Sweet 16, which some people were complaining about a Sweet 16, but that was the best Texas soccer has ever done. So to get a coach of quality of Angela Kelly, who had success at a school like Tennessee and then has brought it to Texas, despite the first round loss, and watch, we were missing Sierra Henson, the Offensive Player of the Year. The Longhorns have to understand that she is the future coach, and there's plenty of young talent on the team, and that she's the right person to mold that talent and ultimately lead them in the future to more success in the tournament.
Yeah, her head coaching future at Texas was in doubt just a few years ago when she was kind of struggling with this Texas team. But, I mean, you look at last year and now this year, Texas is a national power. They're back to being towards the top in soccer, and you can thank Angela Kelly for that. Taylor?
Yeah, it was definitely the right call. It was just, this unfortunately did happen, a lot earlier for them to lose out. But, just like you said, in regards to the rest of what she's done for this program, it's just the right call. I mean, if they didn't do this, then they'd bring in a new coach, and you basically have to, again, kind of start all over. So, for me, it was the right call.
Yeah, sometimes starting over, you just really set the program back, and that's not what Texas wants at this point. Justin?
I have a bit of a different take. I think we need to get rid of Angela Kelly.
Really?
Yeah, and I think it's because, whenever Angela Kelly came, she came from Tennessee, where she was a national contender every single year, just dominating in soccer. And, we really haven't seen that since then. Last year, she got Texas to the Sweet 16, and, that was great and all, but there has just not been that high caliber of, just like consistent winning and just going on and on. Texas lost 5 games this past season, and 3 of those came within the last 2.5 weeks, and that's a bit concerning. Just kind of tapering out towards the end. So, sorry, my take's a little bit different than y'all.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is concerning that they kind of petered out towards the end of the season, but I think it is the right call, and I'm going with Zach. You're getting the point. I mean, you have to remember they were playing without their best player in Sierra Hinson. She is that offensive firepower for this Longhorn offense, and not having her and having her for 18 minutes hobbled, that's not really going to help. So, I mean, can't entirely blame her for that. So, Zach, you're getting the point to wrap this block up. When we return, Rookie of the Year and what's wrong with the defending Super Bowl champion Eagles. Stick around. Welcome back to College Crossfire. Let's remind everybody at home of the score. We got ones across the board, still anybody's game. Yeah. Moving on, and then there were four teams left that have a shot to play in the Big 12 title game. West Virginia, OU, Iowa State, and yes, Texas. West Virginia and OU are clearly in the driver's seat for the title game, but any slip-ups could allow Texas or Iowa State to sneak in. Now, there are multiple tiebreaker scenarios for all four of these teams, but who do you have playing in Arlington for the Big 12 championship? Let's start with Taylor.
Yeah, I'm going to go with OU and West Virginia playing in that championship. Texas, it's just with them, again, kind of having trouble in the fourth quarters. We don't know, will they win this upcoming game, will they not? So with that on the line, and then the other teams would also have to lose in order for Texas to even be still in that running. I'm just going to go ahead and go with OU and West Virginia.
Yeah, Texas has a tough Iowa State game coming up this weekend, and you're asking West Virginia to beat a very potent Oklahoma offense. It's pretty dicey. Justin?
Well, my ideal scenario is OU losing to Kansas and West Virginia, just because that's cool, and Iowa State winning out, because it would be really cool to see West Virginia and Iowa State to play each other for the Big 12 title. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen, and I'm going to have to agree with Taylor on this one. It's probably going to be OU and West Virginia. Like you said, Jonathan, both of them are just in the driver's seat right now, and they control their own destiny, and it seems like nothing's going to stop these two teams from that happening. So.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to end up playing back-to-back weeks, first in the very final game of the season, and then in the Big 12 championship in Arlington.
Yeah. You know what?
Zach?
I'm going to go a little different. Slightly different, though. Personally, I think Texas is out of the race. I think against OSU was really that big game that they were in the driver's seat all season. They did not, Texas is out. OU, I think, is the lock here. I think OU, their offense is so potent. They've really taken that Texas loss to heart and have done really well since. The other team I'm going to do, Iowa State. Iowa State, 5-game winning streak since they put in Brock Purdy, quarterback. They have to go, obviously, to Austin this week to go against the Longhorns. And I do think OU is going to win out and beat West Virginia, which would ultimately let Iowa State hop into that seat, beat Kansas State next week, and then go face OU. So it's OU, Iowa State for me.
OU, Iowa State. That's a pretty gutsy call, but you know what? I have to disagree. I don't think that's going to happen. It's Oklahoma. It's West Virginia. I'm sorry. That's the easy. Sometimes the most obvious answer is the correct answer.
Yeah. Gotta go bold.
Yeah. Taylor,
it's
Justin,
a good take.
you're both getting the points to start us off. Sorry, Zach. I just don't see Iowa State sneaking into the Big 12 title game. Sorry. Moving on. Last week we discussed MLB MVPs. This week we have some award winners, but we're only going to focus on the AL Rookie of the Year award. Two-way star Shohei Ohtani took home the award over Yankees rookies Miguel Andujar and Gleyber Torres despite missing time on the DL this season. Andujar and Torres also played extremely well this season, were worthy picks. So do you think that Ohtani deserved this award, or should it have gone to somebody else? Start with Justin.
The Angels didn't have that impressive of a season, and Ohtani, like you said, he was out for a long time. But I think it's still pretty impressive what he was able to do, and he was a really good two-way player, and that's the way that I look at awards like this. Rookie of the Year, that means rookie overall. I know by overall we're kind of taking out, time overall, but just the way he was pitching on the mound and hitting, hitting below like a 3.31 ERA or something like that, just really good job overall, and I think that it's the right call. Plus, he got 25 out of 30 first place votes, so they kind of know what they're talking about.
A very convincing win for Ohtani. I mean, he flashed ace stuff on the mound and just this immense power at the plate. I mean, you really couldn't have gone wrong there. Zach?
Yeah, I mean, Shohei Ohtani was super impressive all year to be able to pitch and hit. You haven't seen that in a while, and he had all this hype to live up to, and he did live up to it. But I would have to disagree. I liked Miguel Andujar as AL Rookie of the Year. He played in 143 games this year, had 27 home runs and 92 RBIs. Also on a stacked 100-win Yankee team, he led the team in hits and average, and his defense wasn't too shabby either at third base. I was super impressed by him. It was really in my opinion, it was him and Torres for a while, and then Torres got injured. So Andujar kept going strong. So for my pick is Miguel Andujar, the Yankees.
I mean, Miguel Andujar was this phenomenal offensive player as well, but I kind of have to disagree with you on the defense. If there was any knock on Andujar, it was his defense at third base. I mean, he wasn't necessarily the best of defensive third basemen, but he wasn't as strong as he was at the plate, in my opinion.
Okay.
Taylor?
Yeah, I think he was very deserving of the award. And when you look at his stats, I mean, it's just very impressive and what he could do. So I say he deserves it, and that's it.
Yeah, Otani. He deserves it. I mean, he got it, and like Justin said, got it convincingly. Justin, I'm gonna go with you. It's just because he flashed that A stuff on the mound, and then just at the plate, he was just honestly near unstoppable. The only thing that stopped him was the injuries.
Yep.
So Justin, you're getting the point. Moving on, another week, another loss. This time to the Cowboys. The Philadelphia Eagles have been mediocre at best following their Super Bowl win last season. Sitting at 4-5 with a very difficult schedule remaining, the Eagles have a tough road back to the playoffs. But do you think that the Eagles will make the playoffs this year? Start with Zach.
I do think the Eagles will make the playoffs this year.
Really?
Yes. I bold take statement. This whole statement. But the Eagles will make the playoffs because I understand they have a tough schedule. The Rams and the Saints still left, but they still have they're down 2 games to the Redskins. They still have 2 games left against the Redskins. They also have one more game against the Cowboys and one more against the Giants, who seem like an easy win at this point for anybody. So, for me, the Eagles also could sneak into the wild card. They're only 1 down on the wild card right now. And then also the weak NFC East, I do think the Eagles, the one area is that running game. Obviously, losing J.J. really hurt them. But I think Clement and Smallwood could really step up for this team.
Yeah, they could have tried to trade for Le'Veon Bell, but
You
we
are
saw how
right.
that happened.
Well, he's not playing anymore.
Yeah, not
so.
playing this year.
Yep.
Taylor?
Yeah, I think they can make it through. They have a couple of more games in order to push through, and I think they're gonna do it. I mean, you've seen them do it in previous years. So even though they've had a tough schedule, yes, and they've lost some games this season, but I think they're actually gonna surprise a lot of people and close it out this final couple of games to make through those playoffs, to make it to those playoffs.
Yeah, just the teams that they have left on the schedule will potentially allow them to maybe sneak in. Justin?
No, they're not going to make it. Kind of like you said, they have a really tough schedule ahead of them against 4 division leaders right now, and that's saying something. That's pretty hard to do. Kind of going off of what Zach said, I think that the NFC East and pretty much the NFC in general will just kind of have to implode on itself. Like the Giants all of a sudden get good or something like that to happen. But I just don't see. Yeah, I know that's not going to happen. But I just don't see the Eagles making it this year. Kind of stinks.
Yeah,
Super Bowl champ, but yeah.
Well, the Giants aren't going to be good the rest of the year. Let's get that out of the way.
Maybe.
But I'm going with Zach. I think just for the very reason that they have Washington on their schedule twice, they still play Dallas, and then they play the Giants, which everybody said should be an automatic win. So I think they've got a shot to make the playoffs. Just based, it's going to be tough, but they have a shot, and that's all you need.
Definitely.
All right, great debate, guys. That's it for now. We've got rapid fire up next. Stick around. Welcome back to College Crossfire. It's time for rapid fire, but let's remind everybody of the score. We've got Taylor with 2, Justin with 3, and Zach with 2. Now, it's still anybody's game because in rapid fire, each question is worth 2 points, and you can jump in at any time. So let's start with the very first rapid fire. It's a hot topic this past week has involved a certain former Ohio State assistant and Tom Herman. Now, while much of the talk has come from one side, Tom Herman did respond once. Giving us the now famous, okay, cool, hook 'em. Now, there have been plenty of responses from coaches and athletes back to critics, but what is the best response that you've heard from an athlete or a coach responding to a critic?
I might have to go Marshawn Lynch during the Super Bowl press conference. Just I just don't want to get fined.
I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I'm just here so I don't want to get fined. I thought that was classic, and then he said it literally the entire time. He didn't even budge, and it was just so smooth and so cool, I thought, at the time. I think that's a classic one to me that came to my mind immediately.
Yeah, he just didn't even care.
He didn't even care. He
did
just wanted to eat
at all.
Skittles and just go play the game. That's what he wanted.
Going beast mode. He's going beast
Yes.
mode.
I think Tom Herman's was pretty good. It's not my choice, but it's my Twitter bio now, so that's pretty cool. But I think Richard Sherman responding to whenever he tried, like Michael Crabtree tried, that whole deal that happened back in 2014, and he just responded in the interview with just a memorable, if you're going to try me with a starting receiver like Crabtree, that's what you're going to get. I just, that made me become a Richard Sherman fan. It was just awesome. His critics and all
absolutely iconic for sure. And I mean, that was what, how many years ago? And it's still
5,
it's still in everybody's mind.
Oh, yeah,
Nobody's forgotten that. Taylor?
Okay, so I'm gonna take a different approach. I'm just gonna go with those that just don't say anything as mine. Like they just sit there, and whenever they ask them the question, they always just nod their head or it's like, okay. And the next question.
They just
That's
silent.
mine.
They're
Yeah,
just silent.
They don't need to get into all that,
I mean, they hear a question, they hear somebody talking to them, they're like, I'm just not going to answer that. I'm just not. I mean, yeah. I mean, that's a classic one. I think, though, the best response though has to be the Richard Sherman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absolutely iconic. Nobody's forgotten that. Nobody will forget that.
I'm not going to
for
forget
a
that.
very, very
Yeah.
long time.
I'm excited to tell my kids about that one. And just pull up the YouTube video. Be like,
Exactly.
watch
So-
this.
So Justin, you're getting the 2 points. Moving on to the next rapid fire. The Longhorn Network is broadcasting a top-ranked matchup this weekend, and those are normally reserved for national broadcasters. Well, here at TSTV, we have TSTV Game Day, where we broadcast different games on and around campus. So if you could choose a college football game for TSTV to broadcast this weekend, which game would y'all choose and why?
A&M versus UAB. Because I think UAB is going to win.
Because UAB's going to win.
They're 9-1. They're hot right now, and I think they're going to beat A&M. They're going to go into Kyle Field, and the Dragons are going to defeat the Aggies.
That would be hilarious to see.
I know, and
That
I
would
want it to
be
happen. It would
hilarious.
silence the whole Texas-Kansas deal, and it's just against are they FCS or
I don't
FBS?
even know.
I don't
They're
But we could totally get the rights to that. So
exactly.
it's feasible.
Exactly. No, we just show up. We just show up.
Yeah.
Well, I think I would go, honestly, Alabama versus the Citadel. Because like we said, we might get the rights for that, and then it also gives me the opportunity to see Tua Tagovailoa play, the best player in the country right now, and most likely the front runner for the Heisman. I mean, to see him play, and also, like we were saying, so the Citadel, so they're probably not going to be as many fans like Nick Saban complained about earlier in the year.
Yeah.
So we'll probably have a chance to get it.
Yeah, but you're probably only going to see him for maybe a quarter in that game.
We're hoping at least a half.
I don't know. I mean, it's the Citadel. You got to remember that. I mean,
That's fair.
Maybe. Taylor?
Yeah, I'm thinking. I don't know. I mean, y'all's games are pretty great. So whichever one that they like, I'll go with that.
I mean, for me, I would want to see Alabama and the Citadel just because what you said, you get to see the best player in college football, Tagovailoa, the national championship, the hero for Alabama, although I'm not so sure that they needed another championship anyways, but whatever, that's a different story. Zach, you're getting the 2 points. Moving on, it's the last home game for Texas this season, which means one last chance to hit Bevo Boulevard. It's been a hit among Texas fans so far, but what should Texas Athletic Director Chris Del Conte add to Bevo Boulevard to spice things up?
How about a live mariachi band playing the Eyes of Texas constantly?
Okay, that's an interesting one.
It is an
Okay,
interesting take, and it'd be cool,
I think it's time for Chris Del Conte to make that call that Steve Helwig said earlier in Crossfire history. Get Arya Bastami to go and perform at city limits. It's his time. Arya is ready. He just dropped an album. He is ready to go.
I mean, he said he's willing. He said he's willing.
Yeah, and he's supposed to be boys with Chris Del Conte, so we
Yeah,
hope.
I mean, boys with Chris Del Conte, boys with Tom Herman. like,
Exactly.
he's just famous around here.
Yeah.
Taylor?
All right, so I've actually been out on Bevo Boulevard like consecutively these past couple of games, and I noticed that although it's a really, really fun time, but it is quiet at the beginning when it just opens. It's not until that parade comes in when it's like a lot of people start coming through. So I would say do a concert, some sort of a concert, but do like little mini concert series. So it'll almost be like several different artists, but have them right in front of that stadium and lead that parade in. Just like a couple of minutes up, I think that will build up even more hype and get more people to come out earlier to that Bevo Boulevard.
And you just get to listen to a whole bunch of different
Yes.
music constantly all day. I mean, especially with this weekend, it's a late game. All day you get to hear good music all day. So I mean, I love that idea. Taylor, you're getting the 2 points right there. We got one more rapid fire question for you. It's an extra rapid fire for you. So,
Extra question.
in light of the NFL messing up this Mexico City game this Sunday, we've decided that what would a cool place be to move the Saints-Chiefs game? What other place would you like to see them play this football game instead of Mexico City? What other country? What other town?
Rams Chiefs game?
Or Rams-Chiefs,
Okay.
yes.
Rams-Chiefs.
Rams-Chiefs, excuse me.
Rams. Put it in St. Louis.
St. Louis? Okay.
Yeah, shove it in their face. Be like, oh, we took the team from y'all.
And we're good now.
Yeah, and it's not that far of a commute from Kansas City and St. Louis. It's in the same state, and you got all those St. Louis fans that are still Rams fans, but now they're in Los Angeles. So it'd be a smart idea. It'd be kind of cool. Gateway Arc and all that stuff.
Yeah, you bring the old fans and the new fans together while kind of throwing a little bit of shade at those old fans.
Yeah.
It's like, look at us now. Look at us now.
Yeah.
Look where we are.
Exactly.
Taylor, Zach.
I think they honestly should. They should consider going to London. I know that's such a. It's so. I know it's late, but if the NFL is serious about this whole London thing, why don't you put your 2 best teams in London and really show out? And London is ecstatic for the NFL. They love football there, and if you give them Mahomes versus Todd Gurley, that's a showdown that London will never forget.
I mean, it's gonna be an absolute shootout regardless.
Yes.
But I think putting it in London is continuing to build that fan base that's already there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very important if the NFL does ultimately want to expand overseas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Taylor?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I was gonna go with the out of the country thing and say Italy though, just because I've been and I think it's really nice and it'd be a cool thing to kind of really expand that base, especially since I know the football presence isn't that that large with with football. So I would say put it in Italy, but.
I mean, Italy would be nice, but I'm gonna go with St. Louis. You gotta kind of rub it into those old fans. So Justin, you're getting the 2 points. You're getting the win. Do we have time for FaceTime at all? No time for FaceTime right now, but stick around on Facebook Live at the end of the show to see Justin's FaceTime. So that's all we have for tonight. Congratulations to our winner, Justin Morris. Make sure to tune in on Mondays at 9:30 for College Press Box to catch up on the latest sports news on the 40 Acres, and tune in with us next Wednesday at 9 o'clock for more College Crossfire. Don't forget to follow at TSTV Sports on social media, and for all the panelists and everyone in studio and master control, I'm Jonathan Polasek. Have a wonderful evening.